Magic the Gathering Foundations.
Next on Eternal Turtles.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of our Patreon supporters out there. Thank you to the Dirtle Maniacs. If you want to be a Dirtle Maniac, go to patreon.com/EternalDirtles and help support the channel. It keeps things going. It keeps things updated. Thanks so much for watching. On with the show. Hello and welcome to Eternal Dirtles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Blackman. Phil, how's it going, man?
Zach, they reprinted Snapcaster Mage at 4 mana.
They did reprint Snapcaster Mage at 4 mana. Foundations, man. I'm not gonna bury the lead here on this set. There are not a ton of cards for us to talk about in Foundations, which, for this episode, maybe that's not great. Maybe we don't get a ton of views on this episode, because there's not a lot of killer cards to talk about. Because Foundations doesn't have a lot of high-powered legacy staples in it. But I want to say this before you click away and you're like, yeah, whatever, this guy doesn't have anything to talk about. That's actually a good thing for Magic the Gathering. It's a good thing for Legacy as well, Phil.
Yeah, I think it's okay that there isn't an overwhelming sweep of busted cards that obsolete a ton of things that you otherwise would have enjoyed playing with. Although there are some things that are cute, that are maybe viable. I'm not opposed to some of the testing out some of the cards that are in here, but yeah, there isn't going to be some overhauling thing that creates a new archetype of any kind. But I think that's good. That's preferable.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about this set. It's going to be legacy. It's going to be standard playable until 2029 or something like that, or 2050. I don't know, something like that. But it's supposed to be in standard for a very long time. And the fact that this has a very flat power curve, to me, is that's a good sign for all of Magic, because they're not power creeping standard. And that's that was kind of where I came down on the Universes Beyond sets that are also standard legal now. I'm fine with that. What is it? Final Fantasy and Spider-Man are both supposed to be standard legal. I think and I hope that means that the power level of those sets will be a little flatter, and you won't see we won't have a review of those sets. It's 27 cards that are going to see play in random formats. So with that said, I wanted to start off, and we're on we're on Mythic Spoiler. So if you want to follow us from top to bottom on Mythic Spoiler, I'm going to start with Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator. That is a Planeswalker Kaito has a 3 loyalty for 1 and 2 blue mana. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito. Then up to you can +1 him for up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card and discard a card. -2 for put a 2/1 blue ninja token into play. And the ultimate is 9. So -9, and you get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token.
Yeah, so
Phil, what do you think?
First off, I'm going to say for all you Teferi fans out there, Kaito is pronounced Kaito, so we'll square that up real quick, and then I mean this is not going to be playable anywhere in Legacy. Planeswalkers.
You don't think?
No, 3 mana.
Come on, Pirates,
bro. If you're at 3 mana and you're not casting Narset, then you're casting Teferi. And
well, you bring up a good point, Phil. One of the things that I wanted to breach here is that a lot of what we're talking about, I am looking at with the eye of there will be some amount of shakeup after Eternal Weekend. And there will be a ban announcement, and I think stuff will get banned. I don't know if a lot of stuff will get banned, but that might not flatten the power level of Legacy, to use flatten just again. But I think it might allow some of this stuff to see niche play.
I think it may not be all that obvious, but I think another reason as to why, Another reason as to why Planeswalkers, for the most part, are unplayable, aside from the fact that, the format is super fast right now and Reanimator is the best deck, and, the Stompy decks just crush you before you ever get to your Planeswalker mana. Even if you do get to your Planeswalker mana, Orcish Bowmasters is a card that checks your Planeswalkers really hard.
It does, especially when Planeswalkers are judged by whether or not they draw cards.
So I think that Orcish Bowmasters keeping out, or when they do bans, and it seems like they'll just get rid of Frog regardless of results because everybody is just clamoring for that to be the target. I still don't quite understand why, given the other context of the format.
I disagree as well. Yeah,
and I maybe everybody's sort of trending that way over time. But I think that if only Frog goes, that's just giving free reign for Bowmaster on Bowmaster shenanigans to come back, in which case we're going to really dislike that future format more than the current format. And all of the oppression that Bowmaster does, it's not only to small creatures, but it is also to any of your you players out there that want to cast your Planeswalkers, and this thing that just gets to instant speed check them in a way that is pretty obsoleting to those. I mean, granted, I think Planeswalkers are also net negative, so I'm happy that there aren't as many Planeswalkers around, but I don't think that Kaito is going to somehow make it, even with a significant shakeup post ban after EW, because I don't think that they're going to touch Orcish Bowmasters, and I think Orcish Bowmasters is probably the most limiting card outside of the format staples.
Yeah, and in a world with Orcish Bowmasters, pay 3 mana for a 2/1 ninja token really isn't doing it.
It's not doing it, and the static's not disruptive.
That's what's going to happen. What were you saying? The static is what?
Kaito's static isn't disruptive, and if you aren't a War of the Spark Walker that's somehow shutting down something that your opponent is doing for as a passive, then it's tough. The fact that War of the Spark exists means that any future Walker can never exist in our format if it doesn't have some sort of prison-like passive ability, or costs 2.
All right. So then, next up, we got to talk
about the Snapcaster Mage, man.
Yeah, let's talk about what's that? The Sphinx of Forgotten Lore.
Yeah, it's Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. It's 2 blue, so it's 4 mana for 3/3 with flash. It has flying. Whenever this creature attacks, not one of ETBs, whenever it attacks, target instant or sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. It's equal to its mana cost. So every turn you just get to Snapcaster.
Not good enough?
No, man, 4 mana. No, we had to talk about it for the nod.
This might make Bolt good again.
We had to talk about it for the nod, but 4 mana is absolutely unplayable.
Yeah, 4 mana is
You have
ridiculous.
Nadu at 3 mana. Come on.
Yeah. There's, like I said, not a ton of cards here. Abyssal Harvester looks like a card that could, see play in that like black soup of 3 mana guys that are fine off of a what's called Dark Ritual.
It's 1 black for a 3/2. Tap. Exile target creature from a graveyard that was put there this turn. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a nightmare in addition to its other types, and then exile all other nightmares you control. I think the problem with it is that it's timing restrictive, because it can only do it if it was put there this turn, and that's going to obsolete
this turn, yeah.
And if you think about the other black creatures that it's contending with, this thing is not going to oust Dauthi Voidwalker. Dauthi Voidwalker is free. But moving on to the next thing that maybe actually might, possibly could, maybe reasonably be, possibly in there. Kiora the Rising Tide is 2 and a blue. That's a legendary creature for Merfolk Noble. It says when it enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. And whenever Kiora attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you create Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus. So, I mean, I get that it has to attack, but ETB filtering some cards isn't nothing. Granted, if you're paying 3 mana and it's not Nadu, you're not doing it right. So you're probably never actually casting this. But
it's making 2 creatures you can target. You can draw 4 cards with Nadu with that.
Hey, man. True. It has to attack, right? It's not doing anything, but it is 3 mana for 11 power theoretically, which I mean,
this is also a card like you don't necessarily have to build your whole deck around. Like you could just sneak this into a deck like that wants to attack and be like, I have an 8/8.
Yeah,
with a 3/2.
I mean, the issue here,
it's late game. I just slammed this, and you're like,
the issue that this can't exist is because Orcish Bowmasters exists, so you can't play these sort of cards that are more expensive to draw cards because it will just die.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to have an 8/8, you just play Murktide. So this thing is priced out, but it is cool. It is 3 mana for 11 power if everything goes according to plan. That filters your hand a little bit. So worth the discussion, even if nothing else. Is Raise the Past, which is 2 white, 4 mana total, 4 sorcery that says return all creatures with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Is that an I win button, Zach? Is there a deck?
There is Rally the Ancestors does pretty much the same thing from what I understand, and there's no deck that is in Legacy that wants to play Rally the Ancestors. And I think Rally the Ancestors is like white X, and it does the same thing. Like, I mean, if you want to do this, just play like Second Breakfast. All of those same rules apply, and like I just don't think that 4 mana for an I win button that's not good. It's not particularly like, I mean, this is like the opposite of, like, at least Cataclysm, like, bricks your opponent if it gets through. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not seeing it.
For Curator of
Blasphemous Edict is...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
Yep. Blasphemous Edict looks interesting. It's a 5 mana sorcery that says you may pay 1 black rather than this spell's mana cost. If there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield, each player sacrifices 13 creatures. I just can't think of a time when, like, your opponent says, I only have 13 creatures. Do you want to get rid of just 13 of them?
There's also not a world where that will ever be if there are 13 creatures on the battlefield.
If your opponent has 13 creatures, they have 1,000 creatures, right?
It means that you're playing against Breakfast and they've already flipped their whole deck and you're dead.
Yeah, that's a best case scenario. Like, let's think about, like, Storm having Empty the Warrens out, and they have Empty the Warrens for like X equals 15, so there's 30 things. It's like, oh, I got rid of 13. Like, wouldn't you just be better casting Tremor? Like, all right. Scrolling down here, Celestial Armor is one that some people have been talking about. That is a artifact equipment for 2 and a white, and it has flesh. When it enters the battlefield attached to target creature you control, that creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end turn, and it gives +2/+0 and flying, and then you can equip it for 4 mana. I'm not sold on this card, but maybe Death and Taxes people really need this effect.
You want to know the trick? The issue with gotcha cards is when you Stoneforge Mystic and turn them face up, they are... So no, this is not it. Maybe a card that we could talk about is Kellan, Planar Trailblazer. It's a legendary creature for a human fairy scout. It costs a single red mana, and it's a 2/1, and it has 1 and a red. If it's a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever it deals combat damage to a player. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, and then it has 2 and a red. If it's a detective, it becomes a 3/2 fairy rogue and gains double strike. Now this is
Phil. We have Ragavan at home.
We have Ragavan at home. But the gimmick with this one is it's a 2/1 for a single mana, right? Okay, like right now everybody's in black. There's no reason to be in red because they banned Expressive Iteration, they banned Dreadhorde Arcanist, they banned Ragavan. There's no reason for red to really exist in the world. All of the if you're not playing, big red stompy gotcha Ancient Tomb. This card, you are able to activate the abilities whenever. These are not activated as a sorcery level ups the way most. I forget the name.
Level up. It's actually called level up.
I forget the name of the kind of cards. This is what was it? The original one, the Kithkin that levels up.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't recall.
I'm forgetting it. Everybody that's listening it knows what I'm talking about, but is also forgetting
Foundry it. Guy or something.
But
I don't know.
The fact that you can hold your mana up to some capacity and then activate this incidentally whenever, this does mean that on turn 1 you cast it. Then on turn 2 you can hold up some type of interaction if there's interaction to be held up. I mean, the format's a little fast, but if there is, and then activate this, and then you will have something to do with your mana. If you actually get to this is a 3/2 double striker, and then you're drawing 2 cards a turn, like it does snowball pretty hard for a threat that at first only costs on mana. Now the bottleneck for most things is mana, right? Like the reason that cards are good is when they're not mana gated. So like Bowmaster is not mana gated, Dauthi Voidwalker is not mana gated. You know, all the stuff that just lets you do the things without actually having to pay the game's foundational resource is why they're good. This one does require you to pay the foundational resource, so it's probably not good enough, but it's probably closer than
building a 6 damage Howling Mine doesn't seem like for 6 mana this is where you want to be.
This is probably closer than anything else we've talked about so far. However, there's one glaring problem with it, and that's that it has 1 toughness in a world where 1 toughness is not allowed to exist.
Bowmasters is coming back.
It's not allowed to exist.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Orcish Bowmasters is going to make this card completely worthless unless they get rid of Orcish Bowmasters. They decide to let X ones back in the format.
All you Orcish Bowmaster truthers, until it goes, we will continuously have the conversation of it can't exist as long as this card exists.
Yep.
How do we feel about Zur Ashur?
You psychopath.
What's up?
It's like what? Lunar Insight, you psychopath?
Lunar Insight? No way, man. 3 mana to draw cards. Orcish Bowmaster.
You love to draw cards.
Orcish Bowmaster exists, my guy. No.
Did you try and skip over to Zul Ashur before we talk about Homunculus Horde, Phil?
You're trying to pay 4 mana for a 2/2 that says draw cards when Orcish Bowmaster exists? Come on.
Phil, if I gave you $1 and then doubled it every day for a month, or I gave you $1 million, which would you take?
Wait, repeat?
So either I can give you $1 million right now, or I can give you $1 right now and then double the amount you get every day for a month. Which are you taking?
Well, I know that the gimmick of this is that you make more money when you double the dollar every day, but that's not taking into account that if you have $1 million now and then just invest it somewhere, and then for 30 days you have $1 million accruing, and then you're already well ahead. So
you can kill someone with $1 million, whereas you can't kill somebody with $64.
So Homunculus Horde is 3 in a blue, so it's 4 mana for a 2/2 that says whenever you draw your second card each turn, you create a copy. That's a token copy of this creature. So it's it's something that
each turn.
Yes, so you can do it on each turn, and then it's 4 mana for a 2/2 that does nothing. That then wants you to do the thing that you're going to get punished by Orcish Bowmaster for. So unfortunately, it was not.
It's not good. It's just I don't know, man. Maybe like throw this in 8 cast. Now 8 cast is good again.
You want to know what you want to know what can at least stop Orcish Bowmaster from chunking your entire life total is Crystal Barricade, which is an 0/4 for 1 and away. It says, Defender, you have hexproof and prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. So the first 4 pings have to go to this thing before the Orcish Bowmaster can kill you.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Maybe that's where we need to be. You need to start playing Crystal Barricade, Phil.
What are the odds?
Then you can play this, right, and then you cast Brainstorm, and then this dies.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking through the rest of the list too. I mean, I'm doing this again. I had looked through the rest of it before, and nothing had jumped out to me. And I'm looking for it again, and nothing is jumping out to me. But they're reprinting an offer you can't refuse. Zach, an offer you can't refuse, which is counter target non-creature spell. Its controller creates 2 treasure tokens. Has not shown up anywhere in Legacy ever anywhere. Why not?
It ain't good, because giving your opponent mana, you're literally casting Dark Ritual for your opponent, right? Like, I can't imagine a situation where you'd be like, hey, I'd love for you to have 2 mana to cast whatever follow-up spells you have.
But it's a 1 mana
right?
negate.
Like,
1 mana negate, Zach.
1 mana negate. Here's the thing. Generally, the decks that you need negate against, Phil, are the decks that are chaining spells, right? Like, I'm not playing, like, negate effects. You've never played negate in this format. But, spell pierces and stuff like that. The reason why those cards are good is because you need them to stop combo decks. Like, I'm not playing, like, against you, maybe, I'm gonna go ahead and cast Terminus. Okay, cool. I'll offer you can't refuse that. And if that resolves, wonderful. Like, what are you going to do? Cast Portent on me? Sure, fine. I don't care. I get to keep my creatures.
I didn't realize
right?
the library was open, Zach. I didn't realize this was supposed to be an Orcish Bowmasters bashing episode, not a...
Not a Phil bashing episode. Hey man, no one's here to bash you. You got your first win in several months on not using TG on camera. All it took was for you to take a break from playing at the shop for a while. People forgot that deck existed, didn't know how to play against it.
Got him. Yeah, just straight up got him.
Time Stop is not a card that I would play in this format.
Here's a card. Here's a card. 1 blue, Refute. It's an instant for 3 mana. It says counters target spell, and then you loot. Zach, why are we not at the Foundation's part of our existence that cancel can just say counter target spell, draw a card?
Yeah, it's wild that it took this long, right?
Because
you know what's also crazy? That there just there's such a dearth of 1 blue mana. There are 2 1 blue mana spells in this set, and they both stink.
Yeah, I'm just I guess we can move on to some multicolored creatures here, because we do have some stuff that's sort of interesting, but might be a little priced out. But one thing that's interesting, and I'm not sure how powerful this line of text is, but and by powerful, I mean it's not going to be able to exist in a world where there's 1 mana unblockable 6/5s and 7/7 lifelikers that draw your deck, and 2 mana.
You're talking about Koma World Eater, huh?
No, I'm talking about Elenda, Saint of Dusk, which is 2 white black, so 4 mana for a 4/4 with lifelink and hexproof from instance. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, it gets +1/+1 in menace, and it gets an additional +5/+5 if your life total is at least 10 greater than your starting life total. So that's all flavor text. But a 4/4 lifelinker with protection from instance. I mean, it is in black and white, but we have seen the birth of Barricade, which is just a 3 mana Baneslayer Angel. Granted, that one draws cards and is only in black. This one is a 4 mana 4/4 lifelinker that can't get swords, can't get fatal push, can't get any 2 mana removal spells,
can't tear it.
So I mean, is a
because it's black,
is a more or less untouchable 4/4 beater on the ground good enough in that sort of Barricade slot?
Maybe if you if you're one of those like black white Death and Taxes decks, maybe as like a one of in your deck.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
You're not slamming 4 of these, but
you would never see you would never see a gentleman like me playing cards like this.
I mean,
nonsense.
Hexproof from instance is if a Baneslayer matters. Hexproof from instance is essentially protection from everything, right? Now, I guess the question is, it's like if my Triumph of St. Catherine's had hexproof from instance, then the only thing I have to worry about is the fact that every other creature in the format is bigger than it is. Which, okay,
that is an issue, right?
If the issue is that everything is bigger,
when your opponent can play a Orcish Bowmasters and gang block your 4/4 lifelinker, is it really that good?
Yep. Okay, so you're saying that Orcish Bowmasters is a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think Orcish Bowmasters could be a problem.
Cool. All right, so on to the next card.
Koma World Eater is an interesting reanimator target. The mana cost is irrelevant, but it does cost 7 mana. This spell can't be countered. That's flavor text. Trample Ward 4. Whenever this deals combat damage, create 4 3/3 blue Koma's Coil tokens. The only reason I even eye this card is because every set I'm like, hey, what could be a card that we could reanimate if Grizzlebrand didn't exist? But now Traxa exists. This is a card I almost feel like might be on the level of like, in a world where Grizzlebrand would have been the choice card to go, I could see people being like, well, this is a fun I could throw in my deck and try and like make work.
I remember when this was spoiled, people couldn't really believe that for draft, it's a 7 mana rare that can't be countered, has all these abilities, and is itself an 8/12. So it's an 8/12 for 7 that then makes 12 power across 4 bodies, and that's a rare.
Yeah.
And it can't be countered, and you can't get rid of it. And I hope everybody has fun.
The thing that this thing has going for it, Phil, as far as a reanimation target, is it's a 2 swing card. Whereas like Atraxa is a 3-swing card, sometimes a 4-swing card.
Atraxa is a no-swing card.
You know, well, I'm saying the game. Yeah, look, the game is ostensibly over when Atraxa comes down. Sure, but what I'm saying here is that this truncates this is a 10-10. You know, like basically, like this truncates the amount of time your opponent has to figure out ways around it. You know, not being able to target it for less than 4 mana is a thing. But like, if you get this down on turn 2 off Entomb Reanimate, your opponent can't target it, right? And then you untap attack and you create 12 power worth of guys. The only thing that's going to stop you from winning the game is a board wipe.
So we're in agreement there. Is Sire of the Seven Deaths something that we're going to show up in Legacy as a turn 3 spell?
Sire of the Seven Deaths? Where the heck is
It's
that?
a 7-mana 7/7 Eldrazi. It has every vanilla keyword and then ward pay 7 life.
We're out of the gold cards now. I think that this could be a 1 or 2 of in the Eldrazi deck. I think it's possible. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to get rid of, like paying 7 life against those Eldrazi decks if they're being aggressive. Can price you out of the game.
Scrawling Crawler is Nekusar the Mindrazor, which is a 5-mana Grixis legend. And they decided to print Nekusar's text on a 3-mana 3/2 colorless construct. Zach, your thoughts?
Phil, they didn't give it flash though. So I mean, you got that going for you.
Yeah, another asymmetrical thing that punishes drawing cards. Moving on, and I think that's it, Zach.
Yeah, that is it. Those are all of the cards from this set. Like I said, we kind of knew this going in, that there would not be a ton of like really awesome cards in this set. There are a couple cards that are interesting. Like I said, I think Koma is going to be the card out of this whole thing that like ends up being the like, oh, this is the card from this set that we're still looking at years from now.
I'm going to say the best card from this set is the artwork on the fish token.
The artwork on the fish token. What fish? What makes fish in this set?
Who cares?
Who cares, indeed. All right. Well, anyhow, thank you everybody for watching. If you like this episode, if you like episodes like them, and you are in a position to support the channel, you can hit us up at patreon.com/eternaldurdles. Just $5 gets you into our bonus episodes in the Durdle Maniac or Durdle Mania subscription circle. So you get an extra episode every week where Phil and I break down stuff, and you get 2 episodes a week anyhow, just for tuning in. If you get a chance and you want to like and subscribe and comment and do all that stuff, let us know what cards you think are good from this set. Maybe we missed something. Maybe we did. I don't know. I don't think it's possible that there are any good cards from this set aside from the cards we mentioned, but we could be wrong. Phil, do you want to say anything to the people?
I look forward to terminusing everybody's board at eDubs, and let's get ahead of the inevitable. Okay, let's get ahead of it. Let's start the ban Bowmaster movement now. Let's start it now.
Yep.
That way, post EW, when they ban one thing and then we inevitably go back to the Bowmaster meta, we've already got strides in the correct direction.
We've got that momentum. All right, everybody. We will catch you next time. By the way, our bonus episode was about Eternal Weekend. So if you're getting excited for Eternal Weekend and you want more Eternal Weekend content, there you go. That's a perfect time for you to join us at the Patreon. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help sustain the Legacy content ecosystem. Just subscribing to this channel goes a long way to reminding YouTube that people love and support this format. Now, if you really want to go the extra mile, you should think about supporting us through Patreon. Both the links for subscription and Patreon are right here. And if you're listening on an audio format, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles. Thanks so much for watching.